Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone. And I'm so thrilled to welcome back our wonderful, talented friend, Lisa Glanz. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, everyone. So lovely that you're here.
What are you going to be sharing with us today, though, Lisa?
Okay, so we are going to be creating a cute little bunny, specifically like a furry kind of texture. And I'll be using my latest collection called the Plush Pencil and Dry Media Pack. That's a mouthful. So yeah, I'll be using some of the brushes just to show you the versatility of them and how you can actually apply it in, kind of various things. So hopefully we can end up with a really cute bunny at the end of the process.
Amazing. Well, that sounds fantastic. So without further ado, Lisa, over to you.
Okay. Even if I know, because a lot of people have messaged me to say, do they need an iPad, etc. Obviously, you'll gain a lot of the information from what I'm showing with the brushes, but in terms of just drawing techniques, how to draw a bunny, you'll also, benefit from that. So you can definitely follow along. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I just use a sort of faint sketch of the bunny, but I'm just going to walk you through the basic outline as well, just so that you can get a feel for the shapes. And I just need to swap my glasses because the older people are slightly blind. Okay, so I'm just going to be using the toothy pencil for the rough sketch, and I've just created a new layer. And just very gently, I'm just going to feel out the shape of the head. So if you can imagine, the bottom kind of is like, I don't even know what the shape that is, but you'll see that the top is narrower than the bottom, and we've kind of gone out for the cheeks. So we're not going for perfection at this stage. It's always just feeling out the shape.
It looks a bit like a guitar pick.
Actually, that's a good description. Yes. Okay, so we just want to draw basic shapes at this point, and with anything, starting point with anything, a basic shape is the perfect way to get going. It's kind of less overwhelming, and we just kind of drawn like a teardrop for the body, and I'm just doing ovals for the little feet. And another one on the side. And obviously, if I'm going too fast, you can always watch back the recording. So don't fret too much about that. So this little guy is going to be wearing a little jacket. And I'm just making kind of like a little cup shape for his arm, or his hand, should I say. And okay, so the button is going to be scalloped. Is that the right word?
I don't think I've heard that term, but I may have just learned something new.
I don't even know how to pronounce these things.
I'm just thinking of fish now, but
yeah, so we just want to kind of, the thing with drawing cute characters is you want to think of additional details that gives it kind of interest and, adds that extra bit of cuteness, if I can call it that. Yeah, so think about cute details like how could you draw the button and what kind of like jacket is he wearing? Maybe, maybe she's wearing a bow. So that's kind of like how I cheat, if I can call it that, my characters often, is that I give them accessories that add extra cuteness to it. It's a good way to add additional kind of loveliness. So we're just going for like a very simple little kind of cardigan. And you'll see later on that I'm actually going to use this line work just to add additional interest to the piece. So, but I'm not fussing about being perfect. and you shouldn't either, because we don't want to be stressing ourselves out. So with drawing, sketching at this stage, you definitely want to be loose, and you want your arm to be kind of like flowing freely. It's a great way to get kind of more natural strokes and natural shapes. Because if I was drawing kind of like that, it's too tortured and labored. So you want to be feeling out your shapes. I think people kind of want to dive straight into the final sort of shape, and yeah, you don't have to. Okay, so I'm just gonna.
Did you clarify what the background was, Lisa?
Oh, sorry, no, I didn't. I will show you in a minute. Let's just quickly finish this little guy's shapes. Okay. Kind of gives us an idea. Okay, so with the plush pencil pack comes 3 paper textures, which is really nice for, just giving their drawings a more kind of realistic look. So you'll get them as JPEG files. You'll also get them in a Procreate document that actually comes kind of set up. And I've chosen the oatmeal one for this example, but there are kind of various different textures that you can play around with. And for this particular bunny, what I'm going to use is one of the palettes that come with a collection as well. So you'll get 4 palettes that are kind of specifically, well, I thought they go really well with dry media. So they're really nice for kind of a sketchy look and a more kind of rustic look. So the one I'm using is called the Seafoam Plush Collection, and that's kind of got like greens and sort of charcoaly colors, which goes well with this.
Amazing. And just to clarify, the template works where the paper textures are the very top layers?
Yes.
Presumably with a blending mode or something?
That's correct, yes. Yeah,
Great.
sorry, Tom, I keep forgetting to add all those details.
No, not at all. And I mean, the beauty of that is if it was at the bottom, you would then have to ensure that potentially dozens and dozens of layers all had the correct blending mode to let the underlying paper show through. But this way you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. So you always want to make sure that those things are above all your drawings, and it kind of like does all the work for you. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to add a new layer and add a background color, which is kind of like a khaki sort of green color. And obviously the reason why I've chosen a darker color for the background, because we want the sort of light bunny to show up even better. Okay, so I'm going to start sketching out my bunny using the brushes, but I'm just going to turn that sketch mode to multiply. And on a new layer, I'm going to choose probably something like that. So just a little lighter color. And then coming down to the Hatch Dense brush, that's going to be my overall kind of body layer texture. So with that, let me just zoom in so you can see. With that, we want the edges to be kind of fuzzy because that mimics fur. And you just want to play around with the size of the brush, because obviously we want to fill in the area as well, but we just want the edges to have that kind of fuzzy texture. And because it's got that texture, your bunny's going to be on top of all the clothing and that kind of thing, so you can actually see that sort of texture coming through.
That does have a gorgeous texture.
Yeah, and it does a lot of kind of work for you in terms of giving it a sort of soft feel.
Did I tell you, Lisa, how we've got little bunnies in our garden?
Oh my word, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And how did your dog handle that?
Well, I was going to say, she doesn't go in the garden much. We walk her in like the local area, but I'm a little bit scared because I've heard puppy, golden retriever puppy and bunnies are not the best combination.
No, that's what I was going to say. But you could train her to kind of get used to them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is quite a story. Okay, so because the brush is a lot smaller, obviously the texture becomes a bit more dense. So we just want to make sure the edges have that fuzziness. So go bigger on the edges.
Do you mind just re-clarifying or perhaps super quickly showing what brush you're using, please,
Okay,
Lisa?
so
A few people
it's the
asking.
Hatch Dense brush. So it's one of the Hatch brushes. So this one is particularly quite dense with this texture.
Amazing.
Okay, so we're creating a new layer. And okay, so I'm going to leave the bunny for now because we're going to add some more cuteness later on. Okay, so we're going to work on his little jacket, her jacket, should I say. I'm going to go with quite a dark sort of charcoal color and coming over to the soft charcoal brush, which is fast becoming one of my favorite. Okay, so this brush is kind of, it's weird. It's like a weird brush, if I can call it that. But it's super versatile because it feels like it does the same action as watercolor, but it has this like lovely sort of soft texture that you can control with pressure. So because it's the same as watercolor, it's going to behave the same way in terms of if you pick up your pencil, there will be kind of join marks. So you just want to be aware of that. So I'm just literally going to do sections at a time. And as I'm going, I'm varying the pressure. So you can see there's sort of different texture happening. And you can decide whether you want to kind of have a dry look or if you want to, you know, have a darker area. So once you get the hang of this brush, you'll see how super versatile it is. And it's really, really, really cool for big areas of color. Okay, so without much effort, we've already got a nice texture happening.
That is a beautiful texture.
Okay, so we're going to add some, actually I'm going to stay on that layer and then I'm just going to use my soft pencil on the same layer.
Okay, so that last brush was the soft charcoal brush and the one before was the dense
Hatch brush.
Yes.
Okay, so with my soft pencil, I'm just going to sort of start adding details on that same layer. So we just want to start showing kind of where the little jacket, you know, kind of begins and ends. I'm just going to come back to the bunny layer for a second and just take away some of the texture. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so we're going to add some shadow at a later stage. So I don't want to go into too much detail now with that. Okay, so on top of that layer, I'm going to add some sort of detail to the little cardigan. And using the noise pencil and choosing kind of like a minty green sort of light color. So the noise pencil is really nice for a soft sort of texture that is small enough to use as a pencil. So it's super handy from that point of view. And it also kind of allows you to tease out the area. So you don't have to like commit because sometimes that it can be quite scary. So I'm literally just kind of in fast strokes drawing that line work. I'll zoom in so you can see better. So it feels kind of like a charcoal pastel brush, but in pencil form, if that makes sense. And because it's soft, you can really control you know, how much sort of color you want on your canvas. I think that's looking pretty good.
I'll tell you what, Lisa, I know you probably built it this way, but all of these brushes go so well together. Like they all complement each other beautifully. They all have, you know, such a aligned aesthetic. It's great.
Yeah, because you don't want something that doesn't feel like it naturally should go together. So yeah, that was the aim. Glad it looks that way. Okay, so I'm just going to choose for the button. You can basically choose any brush really that has a bit of soft texture. I'm going to go with a flat pastel just to add some color, because we're going to do the detail work with the pencils. So at this stage, we are literally kind of laying the foundation of all the areas of color that we're adding to the bunny. And then we're going to add some magic at a later stage. Okay, so using my selection tool, I'm just going to select that area. Oops, that didn't look good. Try that again. I'm just selecting that area inside the button. Not very well, it looks like it, but you get the idea. Okay, so coming over to a hatch brush. Okay, I'm going to use the hatch thin light. So this is kind of like it's a very thin hatch texture. And I'm just choosing a darker color than I was originally using for the button. And I'm just very lightly, with my pencil, kind of adding almost shadow work, just for some depth. And we're going to use, I think I'll stick to that. We're going to use a soft pencil to kind of finish off our button. Again, we're just, you know, kind of giving it definition. And you can decide how much sort of detail you want.
Ruby says, I feel like I'm looking at one of my childhood stuffed bunnies. So damn cute, Lisa.
Oh, that's so cute. But actually, that's a good project for her. She should try and draw her childhood bunny.
Oh, that reminds me. Apologies if you're in the audience. I forget. One of our community mentioned they love how we name the characters in the session. So I thought we have to name them.
Yes.
So,
okay, so I've just basically kind of defined areas on the button, and I'm just going to add a little thread, probably something like that.
It seems that all of our neighbors where we're basically said they've all got puppies at the same time, and some of the puppy names are just hilarious. We've got Dave next door, Lenny up the road. It's just like
Lenny. Oh, that's so like sweet.
Some bloke you meet down the pub or something.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to start working on his cute face.
Oh, that detail looks amazing, though. Okay, what are we thinking? I mean, personally, my favorites were Lulu and Bertie. What do you think, Lisa?
I think Lulu is very cute.
It's quite cute, isn't it? Should
Actually,
we go with
Lulu?
They're
all pretty good. Yes, they're all pretty cute, I must say. Okay, so I'm using the toothy pencil. You can decide if you don't want such a kind of textured look, you know, to the details, and use the softer pencil. But I quite like the texture of the toothy pencil, and I'm just subtly leaving kind of like a highlight in the eye. And you can decide again. You can decide the motion of your little bunny by so if we do them like so, just kind of worried. Or we could just kind of do one like so and maybe one like so. Okay, so using a kind of similar to the button color for the nose, because I don't want it so harsh with the sort of charcoal color. I'm just teasing out my shape, and then again using that sort of noise pencil just for that soft detail. Okay, so probably a lighter color that we were working with. Sorry, can you hear Siri?
Oh, no, I didn't, actually.
No. Okay, thank goodness for that.
Although they're very temperamental, aren't they?
They are. When you need them, they're deaf. And when you don't need them, yeah.
Much like partners.
True. Okay, so I'm literally, with a very soft kind of pressure, just in circular motions, adding. You'll see it kind of softens that area quite a bit. We're adding some detail. And you could do the same around the eyes if you want to kind of soften the eye area. You can do the same what I'm doing with the nose. Okay, so we can start working on some shadow work, not shadow work, his ears and some cheeks. I prefer doing things on new layers, but of course you don't have to. And I'm using also the plush comes with a kind of like a pinky blushy color palette. So I'm just going to use one of those colors. And
where did you get the colors from? Did you do it by eye or photo reference or something?
No, I actually have quite a few sort of pins saved of a whole lot of different sketch work that I like from different artists, and I use inspiration, you know, like I took kind of inspiration from some of them that I really enjoyed, like the color combos that they use. And I find that with sketch work, to keeping the palette monotone, if that's the right word, I don't know all the terminology for color.
Yeah, kind of muted. Yeah,
it gives you a more successful result from that point of view. Obviously, if you want to go colorful and bright, I mean, that's also great. But if you want a more sort of subdued, vintagey kind of look, then that's a good way to start.
I honestly love how much you're always innovating, because historically you've done these very kind of pastel-y but bright works. It's still very cute, and this is totally different in terms of feel and style, and this muted nature. And I love it. You're constantly trying something new, and I think that's a testament to why you've been so popular. You know, our community love you. You've been really successful in what you do, and I think it's because you're always moving the goalposts, so to speak.
Yeah, well, you know what it is? I'm a bit like Ian, you know, our co-host.
You've got an attention span of a goldfish, you mean?
Yes, exactly. I get super bored, so yeah, I'm always trying to find new things to excite me. So yeah, and then I like sharing what I find, you know. So then I like making products around it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. It's
great though. I think, you know, you take your audience and very much our audience as well on a journey with you. Yeah,
I'd like to think so. I think it's a good way for any artist to kind of have that goal. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to use the shader with dirt, only because okay, so you won't see the dirt texture in this necessarily, but I just like the texture of the brush. So this is a good one for the cheeks and the nose area. So again, just always, you know, with these kind of shaders, what's really nice to do is just feel out the brush by just applying some soft pressure at first, and then you can always just add as you go along. So it's a nice way to build up the amount of color that you want on your canvas, and yeah, just to control your shape that you're kind of creating. So I'm literally just using very soft sort of circular motions to apply the color. Okay, so I'm going to start adding some shadow work to our bunny, which is always a good thing to create that depth kind of feel to it. So on a new layer above everything, I'm going to probably choose, I'm going to start with the ears first. So we're going to choose just the soft pencil for now. I just want to start creating some form. And I just want to bring that down a dash more so we can see what's going on. And because I like that kind of sketchy look in my work, you may not. You may want sort of more continuous line work. I'm literally just feeling out with my pencil, you know, areas that I want to add sort of texture to or line work. And then I just basically tilted my pencil on its side to do some shading. And we can do the same on the other side.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I'm just going to set that to multiply, which is what I forgot to do. And then choosing, so all the areas that I'm going to add shadow to, you can either create a new layer for each one, but I'm not going to. I'm just literally going to make sure that I choose an appropriate color for that area. So now I want to work on the bunny. So I'm just going to choose a color that's kind of just slightly darker than the actual bunny. And then using, let's see, I want to use the thin hatch brush. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, just slightly larger. Yeah, that's too big. Okay, I'm going to come down to the soft hatch. That's actually quite a nice option too. Oh, that's better. Okay, so I'm just literally, again, very lightly teasing out my sort of shadow work.
How are you defining this? Have you picked a light source, or are you doing it more
yes.
abstractly?
Okay, so yeah. The light source I'm thinking is coming from, let me just draw it actually. So if we can imagine the light source is coming down like that, or even a bit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a little kind of scared of shadow work, you know, you don't have to do it so like hectically. You can be subtle about it, but definitely, you know, give it a play, because once you get the hang of it and you start using it in your work, it really does make quite a difference. Okay, so I'm going to use a darker color for the jacket, and I'm going to use the harder hatch brush. And the reason why I've gone for that is because this is quite a darker area. It needs more definition. And I'm literally just adding here and there. Again, you kind of tease out your shadow.
Is every step a different layer?
It doesn't have to be, but you'll see basically the shadow work is all on one layer. But if you feel that you don't want to commit to that, then definitely create you know, a new layer for each shadow area. But yeah, basically all the components are separate. So I've just chosen my toothy pencil, and on that same shadow layer, just going in and adding more definition around the button. And around the jacket. And you can decide how much you know, definition you want to add. Going back to my hatch. So with these brushes, what's really nice is that you can build up that texture really well. I'm not sure if you can actually see the texture that's coming through there, Tom.
Yeah, definitely can.
Okay.
Beautiful.
But
again, that nice cross hatching.
Yeah, it's quite a versatile sort of easy shading brush. Okay, so I'm going to do the same for the bunny area, and just using my toothy pencil, just going to create some definition. Again, you may want to be specific and not so sketchy, but I like that look. Okay, I just want to change the sleeve dash because it's bothering me. So I'm just going to use the clone tool quickly. Where are my... Oh, not the clone tool. Sorry, that's why. Liquify tool. And I just want to push the edge in the dash. Looks better. And again, for the little stripe. Okay, that looks way better. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to add extra kind of like furry bits to his fur, if that makes sense. Okay, so coming back to our bunny layer, and I'm going to choose a bit of a lighter color. I'm coming back down to the shy pencil because the nice thing about the shy pencil is that it is so kind of scratchy, if I can call it that, which is really perfect for this kind of work. So just on the edge of the fur, I'm literally just randomly adding sort of line work. And this brush is actually really nice for, yeah, it's like great for adding sort of very kind of sketchy line work to anything. And I use it quite a lot on furs and things like that to create definition. And it's one of those brushes you can literally spend. I mean, to create my bear, I spent probably like 45 minutes just using this brush to create a texture. So yeah, it's
Lisa, do you mind talking the audience through what area you're working on? And it can be a little hard just to see the fine outline.
Okay,
details.
sure. Sorry, of course. Okay, so I'm just going to add some detail to his tail area. And then we're going to go in and just create some definition. So coming back to our shadow layer, I'm going to use, I'll stick to the toothy pencil. I'm going back to our tail area. And just around his little paw. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to add just a dash more kind of contrast work to the bunny. So this is going to be more of a, it's basically adding a light layer to the bunny. So that adds in another definition kind of to the whole thing, gives it more of a 3D look, and also an opportunity to add some interesting highlights. So I'm going to choose, create another layer and choose white as my color. And make sure that's on add. And yeah, you got a choice. I would recommend using any of the hatch brushes, but I'm going to go with the soft shade and the shade of soft hatch for now and see what happens. And just bring the opacity down just so I can control that a bit better. So I'm just on top of his forehead kind of very lightly with my pencil, bringing it down from the top down. And it's just adding just that extra little bit of dimension and texture. So I'm just working around his mouth. And I'm sticking to the right side of his face because remember the light source is coming in from that side.
We're illuminating Lulu.
Basically, yes. Okay, so working on the top of his ear. And you can decide how much you want to add to areas. So on the left-hand ear, I'm just going to kind of highlight the top even more. And then very sort of lightly bring it down. And then his nose, using the noise pencil, is going to get kind of like a little highlight. So again, I'm just teasing very gently, just bringing the opacity down. Okay, that was too much. So I'm just going to bring opacity down. Going back to the nose area. I'm just teasing
really subtle, isn't it?
Yeah. Because if you know, again, you can decide how much you want to add. So I'm building it up as I go. Because if you do it this way, then you can control it better. And then what you can do is bring the opacity back up and just do, more of a one sort of highlighted area if you want it shiny. For me, that's a dash too shiny, but I'm just going to leave it for now. And you can do the same around the eyes, the highlights in the eyes. Coming back to our soft hatch shader, I'm just going to add some more detail around his foot area. I can go quite a bit bigger. So all these extra kind of textures and lighting play that you're adding to the piece, it all adds up. So yeah, you could probably have stopped, quite a bit a while ago, but yeah, the more you add to your piece and make it interesting, the more exciting it gets. And also it's a good way to experiment.
Something I've noticed, Lisa, you're definitely bringing more and more depth and texture into your pieces. So that nose, it's still very illustrative, it's still very cute, but it's almost starting to look like kind a real stuffed toy or more, it's more 3D. And your style used to be much more flat. So there's been a real evolution. What's brought that on?
I think it's that whole thing of exploring lighting in my work. And the minute you start doing that, you almost can't get away from the fact that it is going to look more and more realistic. But yeah, it's been fun because I haven't been confident when it comes to lighting and environmental lighting, placing them in a scene and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's been fun to kind of explore that. So I'm just working on the button. I've come over to my noise pencil, and just bringing the opacity down quite a bit. Yeah, because I've been doing a few courses actually on that. And it's been amazing how it changes your whole outlook when you approach it.
It was like ocular diffusion or something like that. It was like getting really scientific, but it was fascinating.
It does sound scientific. Okay, so I'm coming over to the hard hatch, and I just want to add some detail on the cardigan area. And you can really play with how much, as I said, how much you want to add to that. But it's a nice way to add interest and texture. So we're still on that add layer. And yeah, you can decide how much you want to do. And then just for the finishing touch on the fur, on that same layer, again, coming over to my trusty Shy pencil, I'm just going to tease out some more little furry bits. So I'm on his cheek area and just moving over on the side of his face, and then coming to the other side, the left-hand side, because now it will be more obvious because we're going over a kind of a darker area. So all these little extra bits.
And where are you painting right now, Lisa? Just
Oh, sorry, can you not see? On the left-hand side of his face, right at the top on his forehead.
Yeah, the top left.
Yeah, sorry.
Detailing in.
That's the thing with this brush, you can't really, it's not an obvious thing.
It's so subtle, but you can see the build-up happening now.
Yeah. So applying that over a dark area really accentuates the kind of furry line work. So I'm working on his left-hand ear. Again, I'm still on that add layer. And I'm on the other side, on the right-hand side ear. And I'm just moving down to his little paw. So all these little bits are going to add to that sort of soft, furry kind of feel.
Can I give you a random idea, Lisa?
Please.
Have you ever thought about teaming up with a stuffed toy manufacturer?
I haven't actually.
People would love that, knowing your characters.
Yeah, I think it's quite difficult to get into licensing with manufacturers like that. But yeah, I'd be super keen. That would be really cool.
It would be amazing to have your series of characters just on my bookshelf or something.
That would be so cool. Okay, so we're going to add some texture at the bottom so it doesn't look like it's floating. So it's actually sitting on the ground. So coming down to a layer just above the color layer, and probably choose a darker sort of charcoal. I'm setting that to multiply. And then you can literally play with any of the hatch brushes for that. You could even use the splinter texture. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm just kind of teasing out where I think his shadow will fall, which is probably not that way, but it doesn't really matter. Because our light source is coming from the other side, probably more this side. And we can add some hatching to that. Let's see what that looks like. And then I'm just going to bring it down in opacity just to soften it. It's a bit better. And then we just need to add some polka dots to his ears. So on a new layer above the ears, just so that I don't sort of kind of destroy that layer. We're pretty much there. Yeah, I think that's
so cute. The polka dots are just the most adorable part of all. I love those.
Yeah, it just adds that extra kind of cuteness.
It's so cute. Okay, that was so good though, Lisa. Thank you.
Cool.
Amazing.
I need to swap glasses. I can't see you. I can't see you.
Hello, welcome back. Yeah, so cute. I can't wait to catch up next week, and I hope you
Thank you, Tom.
have the best time with Cliff tonight.
I will. Thank you. I'll definitely have a drink on all of you.
Love it. Chat soon.
Okay. Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.